Good morning, MSM families, and welcome to Sunday morning or whenever you're watching this in the week. So, we want to get right into this. We've been talking about atypical families, and we talked about Adam and Eve and their sons, Cain and Abel, where Cain got so upset and jealous that God's favor was on Abel that he ended up killing his own brother. Now, this is harsh. But we know that God will use that and did use that. And that's not saying go out and kill your brother. Not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that even in this world, God uses our pain and our sorrow for his kingdom. And although we can't always see it immediately, God is working. God is there. So we talked about atypical families and how God will use your weird and unique family. And I only say that because I know my family is weird and unique. Today, we're going to move on with our atypical series, and we're going to talk about how atypical families have tough conversations. Let's look on over at Matthew 22:36 through 40. It says, "Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." So we keep coming back to this verse, and it's because I believe it's what we need to keep hearing. That all of the commandments, you guys know, if you were in Miss Amy's or Miss Kristen's classes, you went over the 10 Commandments a lot. Now, in today's age, we don't throw up the 10 Commandments and use them as law. But back then in the Old Testament, they used that as their law. But all 10 of those commandments can be summed up into those two that Jesus said. Love your God with all your soul, mind, and heart, and love your neighbor as yourself. So, some might be wondering, who even is my neighbor? Well, let's start with your own family. Your family are your neighbors in this sense. But it gets even broader than that because we are each other's neighbors. Not only if you just have contact with people, but we as a human race are each other's neighbors. And every family has conflicts. I bet you can think back, even maybe yesterday, and think, yeah, my family had conflicts. But I wanted to ask you, what did you do with those conflicts? Did you run away? I know I have sometimes. Did you try to forget about it and let it go, but it really didn't? These conflicts make room for healing and growth. And they help us learn to communicate. If you've noticed anything in this quarantine, it's that communication is very vital for relationships. Communication with your parents is vital. Communication with your brothers and sisters is vital to valuing relationships. So, what would I be if I just stood here and said that we have conflicts? See ya. No. We're going to go over a few things right now, and I want you to write them down and then see and practice these aspects with your own family, if it's conflict or even maybe just conflict in the world. Because we know that the last couple weeks have been tough, and we'll get to that. Don't worry. So the first thing is asking. Ask to be a part of the conversation. Ask your parents or whoever you're having conflict with, hey, can we talk about this? That goes a long way because you speak directly into it and don't beat around the bush. The second thing is be patient. That's one thing that I've been trying to work on this quarantine is to be patient. Not jump to conclusions, not think you're right, but to be patient with the people that you have conflict with. The next part, and I think it's one of the toughest of these aspects, is really listening. When you have conflict, it's easy to just jump to being right. That I'm right, no one else is right. I'm the only one that can be right. Everyone else is wrong. But if we're asking, if we're being patient, we really need to listen. The fourth thing is being honest. Not only being honest with the people that you're talking to, but being honest with yourself. When you're in a conflict, the hardest thing is the next one, which is admitting that you are wrong. And that comes hand in hand with being honest. Being honest with yourself about being wrong, or even if you are right, being honest and admitting the wrongs that you might have taken. And the last thing that sums all of this up is valuing your relationship. If you do these things, if you go into the conflict with this confidence that you want to come out of it with a solution and not just being right, you value the relationship that is in front of you. So, the last few weeks, guys and girls, has been very tough. Very, very, very tough. If you've had any conversations with your family about the last few weeks, it's tough. And I keep just saying that because there's no excuse for what's going on other than this world is changing. And you guys get to be a part of that. For some of you older kids, the 7th and the 8th graders, I follow you on Instagram and I've seen that you are participating in some of the peaceful protests on social media. And I encourage you to do that, but I encourage you to take what we just talked about and apply it to these situations. Are you asking the right questions? Are you being patient? Are you really listening? Are you being honest about yourself? Are you admitting maybe where you were wrong? And are you valuing the relationships of this world? So, I'm not going to talk a whole lot on this. One thing I will say is that my heart is saddened. I know I've been wrong in the past, but my heart is saddened. And we mourn with the people of this nation, of this world. We mourn with the oppressed. We mourn for the people who have lost their lives because of injustice. This week, practice this conflict resolution aspect. Practice these things. But in all of this, bring it to God. I'm going to end with one final story of a friend that I saw post on Facebook. And it was his heart going out to the people that are mourning, that are hurting, that are scared. But his heart cried out to God. He asked things like, God, where are you? Why are you not in this? And when we ask about where God is, we have to look inside ourselves. We are the change. We need to be a church family that is loving, that is Jesus' hands and feet, and that will help change the world. Believe that you can change the world with your atypical family, and I know you will. These last few weeks have been hard, and the next few weeks or months will be hard. But I ask you today, with your atypical families, have tough conversations and love each other through them, but really sit and listen to what's going on. I love you guys. I miss you guys. And I'll see you next week. See ya.